beautiful people. So today we are going to talk about video standards, frame rates, and how to choose the right one for you. And this is going to include a little demo comparison as well, so stay tuned. So if you've ever watched a video about frame rates on YouTube, you would have heard things like 24 frames per second for real-time vlogs, interviews, etc. 60 frames per second for a medium-grade slow-mo type of B-roll footage, and then 120 frames per second for that buttery smooth B-roll. However, are those your only options for frame rates? The simple answer is no. These videos are filmed mostly in North America, and in North America, so US and Canada, the video standard for broadcasting and cinema is NTSC, and those are the frame rates associated with the NTSC video standard. However, if you are in, say, Europe or other parts of the world, the broadcasting and cinema standard is actually PAL, and it also has different frame rates associated with it. So if you pop your camera out of the box and you bought it outside of North America, you're going to turn it on and you're going to be faced with these PAL frame rates, which is 25, 50 and 100 frames per second, directly aligned with the 24, 60 and 120 of the NTSC frame rates. However, on YouTube, there aren't exactly a lot of creators telling you to go and use 50 frames per second. So obviously you're going to turn your camera on and you're going to look for those rates that you're familiar with. Now, you're not going to find them. There's two options available for you in terms of what you could do. One is just swap your camera to NTSC in the settings menu. Sounds simple, right? Not exactly. Most cameras, if not all cameras, will ask you to format your SD card when you're doing the switch back and forth between PAL and NTSC. Which might not be a big deal if you're just getting your gear set up at home and all of your cards are empty, but if you're mid-project, which is exactly what happened to me, you don't have that option. You can't wipe half a days of stills and videos just to swap your frame rates. So the other option is to just shoot PAL. I mean, how bad could it be? And that's exactly what we're going to find out today. So we're going out in the field. I have two Sony cameras, one running NTSC, the other running PAL, and we're going to test and compare how the two standards look side by side, and if it really matters if you're filming your B-roll at 50 frames per second. Also, spoiler, this right here is filmed at 25 frames per second, and I bet you did not notice. So let's get out there and get shooting. And we're back. So I did a day of shooting in Dublin. I got some static city scenes shot on both cameras under all frame rates. You would have seen those clips just now. What I did to keep things fair and to really illustrate the impact of the frame rates is I set both cameras up on tripods beside each other, so there was no camera movement, no introduction from foreground, no panning. I really wanted to eliminate all the frills to really illustrate the impact that the frame rates were having. So we had 24 against 25, 50 against 60, and 100 against 120. When it came to the real-time stuff, I genuinely don't think there's a difference. And again, this is actually, fun fact, filmed under 24 frames per second. The start of the segment was filmed at 25. I compared the two. There is no discernible difference in any way, shape, or form. So for anything like vlogs and documentaries and interviews, you're good to go. Doesn't matter which standard you're filming in, you're gonna be fine. The difference between 24 and 25 does not matter. Where things got really interesting actually is the slow motion portion. Now, I expected differences. There's a wide enough gap between 50 and 60 or 100 and 120 that you should see a difference, especially when you're slowing things down. However, I didn't expect to like PAL. I honestly was biased going into this. I thought that more is better, slower is better, so I was expecting to like the 60 and the 120 frame rates per second clips of NTSC a lot better than the slightly more limited, shall we say, of PAL. But putting these together, I actually prefer the 50 frames per second. I prefer the 100 frames per second over its slower counterparts. What really illustrated this for me is that that last segment, the 120 frames per second, I was cutting that clip and I was cutting that clip again, and by the time I got it as short as possible to still illustrate our point of what the differences were, I was bored watching it. Honestly, I'm not sure how you got to this point because I'm pretty sure you were bored watching that too. I know the point of slow-mo is to essentially shoot really short clips, cut them together, and essentially tell a story that way just with little snippets, slow down to preferably some B-roll music. And fair. However, do you really need 120 frames per second to do that? I mean, really? Honestly, I think I prefer the PAL version, and at least for now, I will be switching to PAL on all my cameras. My DJI Osmo Action actually can facilitate both real-time frame rates, 24 and 25, so that's not an issue, and obviously all the Sonys are getting swapped over. We will see how that goes. I am actually going to do an experiment of doing 30 days of shooting PAL, and we're gonna see what the verdict is at that point. But right now, frankly, I prefer it. It will smooth out my workflow in terms of shooting, especially for stills and photos. I tend to grab and go a lot just to capture that moment, so that delay when the camera decides to announce that yes, it is running NTSC has really been getting to me, and no matter, even if you try to force past it, it is still an issue. I feel like I'm losing seconds and I have missed shots because of it. So I'm excited to actually, get rid of that particular notice. What about you? What do you think? What are you shooting? Are you thinking of swapping because of this? Which do you prefer? Also, let me know if you were in the same camp as I was, where I got my camera out of the box and couldn't recognize the frame rates. And hopefully this helped you to get on the road and get shooting in the way that you want to be shooting. And yeah, I will see you in the next one, and I will keep you posted how the spell journey is going. Thanks for watching.